I get asked a lot over the last 5 years about the crystal industry and how it works. I'm going to try to give a full comprehensive breakdown from soup to nuts, from mining to retail, and how things work in this industry. I think that if you're in the industry, it's really important that you know the whole spectrum. It gives you another viewpoint, and it also gives you the ability to relay that to your client. And I know that a lot of people, when they're buying from their wholesalers or from their distributors, they're not getting information. I was a vegetarian for like 15, 16 years, something like that. I stopped keeping track. We're so disconnected from the process. You go to the supermarket and you buy a package of meat and you don't even think about the process and how it got from point A to point B. And now you just have a package of meat and you bring it home and you cook it and it's out of sight, out of mind. And while that's good and works for most people, I'm the type of person that wants to know the story. I want to know the ins and outs of things. And so let me try to break it down without going too long about how things work. So first of all, you have mining. Every country has different mining standards. South America, it has relatively similar standards across the board. So we'll just use South America for now. Because I hear people all the time saying that they own a mine. Most of the time, mines can't really be owned. What you can do is you could have rights to a mine, or you can have a claim or a stake, or you can be the one, there could be the material could be on your land. There's many different ways to skin it, but most mines, especially big ones, are ran by families. And we're talking about semi-precious stone right now. We're talking about like amethyst, quartz, agate, rose quartz, sodalite. These are all Brazilian mines that are pretty readily accessible, black tourmaline. And most of these mines, if not all of them, are ran by families. And we're talking about a couple of generations worth of families who have figured it out over time and now have it down to a science where they can extract material way more efficiently than they could 100 years ago. I've been to a lot of different mines all over the place, not just in South America. And I've never seen anything in a semi-precious mine where I was like, ooh, that's nasty, that's gnarly. I've never seen mining practices that were nasty or gnarly in the semi-precious business. So when people say you're destroying the earth or you're hurting the earth or you're killing the earth, not really. That's just someone in their feelings who wants to pretend that they're self-righteous. And the truth of the matter is, and I don't mind saying this even if I get flack for it, you know, the people who say these things are literally driving gas guzzling cars. You have your cell phone, which is way worse than mining a rose quartz. You have your house that you live in, which is pretty much trees and stone. So it's like you're upset that people mine rose quartz, yet, you know, you shouldn't be living in your house and or driving your car or talking on your cell phone if you're so righteous. You know, don't be a hypocrite in the process. Go live in a hut in the jungle and then tell me that I shouldn't mine a rock. Anyway, the miners that I've experienced, I have never seen anything weird or shady or child labor, nothing like that. They're grown-ass men. I think maybe two times I've seen a woman actually in the mines. But usually they're just mostly grown-ass men who don't give a rat's ass. You know, I've seen tarantulas on these dudes and they just brush off tarantulas. I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff. Those dudes are authentic. They're real. No one's telling them what to do or what to charge. No one's taking advantage of them. Trust me. Another thing that I hear a lot is people say they go to the mines all the time. Oh, I go directly to the mines, or I own mines, or I have mining contracts. For me, what I want is proof. So if it's me, and let's just say I'm a retailer and I wind up in a wholesaler and they're like, oh, I go to the mines, show me a picture of you in the mines, not a picture that a miner sent you or that a distributor sent you or that I sent you. Send me a picture with your face in the mine. Not you sitting in a rough yard, not you, come on, because anybody can do that. If you really have mining contracts, then you should be able to be taking pictures of yourself in the mine. If you come to the company, there's a reason why I have this whole hallway is filled with pictures with me in the mines. Is so that I can show you, like, see, that's me in the mine. I actually go to the mine. So when I tell you that I'm going to the mines, there's me in the mines. People steal my videos all the time. People ask me to send them videos, and then I see them posting them up on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. Oh, I go to the mines, and it's like, oh my guys, just sent you that video. You know, authenticity is important, and I would never take credit for something that is not mine to take credit for. But that's the idea. The idea behind mining is they're barely using any kind of machinery. Most mines, the best you can do is get a hammer drill in there. You know, If you're excavating and you're removing mountainside, then that's a different story. But if you're actually in the tunnels, if you're in the mines, there's no heavy machinery really around. They got a hammer drill, and that's about the end of the story, because you can't compromise the integrity of the mine. And if you're using like heavy machinery and power tools, the mines might collapse, God forbid. As far as the mining goes and the mining practice goes, pretty straightforward, nothing to really be worried about. Here's where we get into the kind of the rough roads. And what I originally noticed and what I had a problem with was the manufacturing. Typically, the miners just mine the stone rough. Out of the mines, they're just taking a big rock and handing it over, and then it's got to get manufactured. And that's really where cost comes in. Because quite honestly, to pull a rock off the side of the mountain is not expensive. But to manufacture it, to cut it down, to polish it, there's a lot of waste involved. Manufacturing is where it gets hairy and where it gets tricky. And a lot of the practices to get manufacturing to be cheap are terrible. We all know, and again, I'm not going to get myself in trouble anymore because I've said I have a big mouth. A lot of the companies that I ran into when I first got into this business, who were big U.S. companies or international companies, I found out that some of their practices were like, what? Crazy. I couldn't even believe it. I'm like, because when I got into this business, it was all about the crystals and the healing and the energy of it. And for me, it still is. Like, I want my customers to get good, clean crystals. And I'm willing to pay the extra money. I'm willing to pay more money for that and charge more money for that so that I make sure that my clients have clean crystals that weren't touched by little children or impoverished families that can't afford to feed their families. So you know what the overhead is to run a big company? It's insane. It's insane. Literally, for me to run this company is like way over 6 figures a month. Way over. And that's not including material costs. That's not including anything, mining, manufacturing, nothing. All it includes is just me paying my bills, my employees, my rent, etc. That's what it is, toilet paper, I need a new computer, we need a forklift, needs maintenance, I got new employees, I need to do forklift training. You just endless amounts, and I'm way over 6 figures. So you get to 100,000 and just keep going. And that's what my nut is a month. So when I see people selling things really, really cheap, I know what it costs to run a good business. I know what it costs to pay employees well and to take care of employees. I've heard in the past that I'm more expensive than this guy or more expensive than that guy. And yes, I am, and I'm proud of that because I'm doing things the right way, and I get to go to sleep at night and not be like, oh man, I'm a horrible human being. So that's the benefit of paying an extra dollar for something, is that you get to rest assured that you're not a terrible person. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be involved in it. I want to keep myself on the outskirts of it. Let those dudes do their thing. Let those dudes lie and cheat and steal and manipulate, and that's great. They do their thing. But I want nothing to do with it. I'll stay in my own lane, I'll stay in my own zone, and I'll do my own thing. Everyone knows that in China, manufacturing is kind of shady. And it's not just crystals, it's everything. But in particular with crystals, it gets really hairy and it gets really shady. Two things happen, and I'm not just directing this at China. I'm just saying that everyone already kind of knows that. And there's a reason why you see a lot of the Chinese manufacturers and a lot of the Chinese wholesalers, all of a sudden they're popping up and selling $10 spheres on Instagram. When before they were doing something completely different, and now no one wants to buy from them because people are skeptical and people know that they do shady things and they'll sell you fake stones or whatever. Stolen material is a real thing. This is how it works. So let's just say that you are a manufacturing company for stones. You make bracelets, let's just say. To make a bracelet is expensive because you need the rough material alone to make an 8mm obsidian bracelet is probably costs around $1. So just keep that in mind. The rough material just to make the bracelet costs around $1 if you're paying for it right. You have to take that stone, you have to break it down, you have to manufacture it, you have to string it, and then you have to resell it. So how, in anyone's wildest fantasy, can you sell a beaded bracelet made of real stones for $1? It's impossible. It's impossible. The cheapest an 8mm bracelet can be sold for wholesale is like $450. That is like the cheapest. Me personally, again, I don't know, maybe other people got a different thing, but I know for me to manufacture and resell an 8mm bracelet, we're talking about $4.50 a piece, $4.50 a piece. Here we sell them for $5 a piece. If someone buys a large quantity, I go down to $4.50. The lowest I've ever sold those bracelets for is like $4 a piece. And again, people are like, oh, that's really expensive. No, it's not actually. It's the right price, it's the right price. So with that being said, people who manufacture in shady ways, they don't just manufacture in their own country because that's more expensive. Let's just say that you are a manufacturer from, a country, from whatever country, and you go to Madagascar. You're going to set up manufacturing in Madagascar, and you're going to child labor and child slaves is easy peasy. This is easy peasy stuff. You don't have, just because the stuff is coming out of Madagascar doesn't mean it was made by people from Madagascar. And that's something that people need to know and understand as well, is that all manufacturing isn't solely done by the people in that country. So when you see really cheap Madagascar material, two red flags everywhere. That's just something to be aware of. Again, if you're a person who only cares about price, and again, if you want to buy the chicken already prepackaged and go home and not think about it, all good. But if you want to know the whole story, then that's what I'm trying to tell you right now. And I'm not judging anybody. Just want to make that very clear. Disclaimer, I'm not judging anybody. A hustle is a hustle. My hustle, I want to be clean and ethical and fair. That's what I want my hustle to look like. And I've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in the process of doing it that way, just so people know. It's not like I've had people come and wave money in front of my face and I'm like, nah, I don't want it. Because that's not who I am and that's not what I want my children to know about me. But that's, again, like I said, that's just me. So on the side of manufacturing, that's where you need to get really serious. You need to know about manufacturing. For me, what I wound up doing was sourcing out to people that I went, I vetted, I met, and then there was other instances where I got involved with people and I was like, okay, I'm going to pump a ton of money into your manufacturing, get new machinery, whatever it may be, and you just work for me, and that's it. You only produce material for me, because I'm not going to go and buy machines and have you produce for other people. So, and usually most of the time, most manufacturers can't even keep up with my demand. So if I need 1,000 kilos of spheres done in like 3 months, then an average manufacturer can only pull off like 200, 250 kilos worth of spheres. So you wind up having to outsource. And the only way I'm willing to outsource is if I vet it myself. I need to know for sure you're not a horrible human being. That's why I think my company became very successful very quickly, was because of that practice. And not because people knew that about me, but because the universe saw that, and the universe was like, all right, I want to get behind this. I want to push this forward. And I think that's why From the Mines grew so quickly. That's just my gut feeling about it. Next, you have distribution. So it now goes from the miner to the manufacturer to the distributor. And the distributor is the one that sells it to the wholesaler. Now, most of the time, or if you're someone like me, I do mining, manufacturing, distribution, wholesale. So I do the gamut. I run the whole gamut. And that's the only way to ensure fair trade and ethical practices, if you run the gamut. But most people are just manufacturing with the Chinese or manufacturing with in India. That's distribution. So distribution happens on a level where a wholesaler is manufacturing and selling at the same time. Usually a distributor is just selling to wholesalers. Like let's just say that I had no part in any of it, then I would be receiving material from a distributor. I act as a distributor because I'll sell to other wholesalers. So that's the way that works. And then you have your wholesaler, who is just basically someone who bought their material already done, mined, manufactured, sent to them, and then they take it and then they sell it to the general community or to the public or to retailers, whatever it may be. And then you have your secondary wholesalers. And your secondary wholesalers is mostly who you're seeing popping up all over the place saying that they're wholesalers. Secondary wholesalers buy from somebody like myself, most likely not me, because my prices are kind of too expensive to do secondary wholesale from, and I'm just being honest about it. Although I do have people who are hell-bent on ethical practice and do wind up as secondary wholesalers from the mines. Secondary wholesale means you go to a wholesaler, you buy material, and then you re-wholesale it to somebody else in smaller quantities. And then you have your retailer, and your retailer is the one that buys it from the wholesaler. So this is the chain. It goes mining, manufacturing, distribution, wholesale, secondary wholesale, retailer to consumer. That's the whole spectrum. That's the whole process. The only way to ensure fair trade ethical practice is to round yourself all the way to the mining. And once you get to the mining and you can track it from there, it passes through way less hands. So that also ensures, especially if you're particular about your stones having good energy and being clean, the more hands a stone passes through, the more likely there is shady business going on with it. So why everyone does so well with From the Mines material is because it doesn't pass through 1,000 people's hands, people's hands. It passes through me and the people that I work with, and I ensure that it's done the right way. And that's why I've heard this 1,000 times, and I'm not just like ringing my own bell here. People tell me all the time, your material flies off my shelf. And I tell them the reason is because it's clean. And you don't need to know that. As a consumer, you don't need to know that the material is clean. You just feel it. Whether it's instinctually or subconsciously, you know what's good. You know what's right. And so that's why From the Mines has grown into this position where people know and trust the company. And yes, I get a lot of hate. I get a lot of people saying bad, but it's, in my opinion, it's all based off of a jealousy, which in my particular, that's not the point of business. The point of business is to keep your head low, work as hard as you possibly can, do things the right way, be honest, be fair, be kind, be understanding, give second chances, and just mind your own business.